Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Nun, but Mציעא we learn Frachem Kol Basic Shalom Sum Masar V'Shipya. Let's quickly review what we learned in the Mishnah yesterday. We learned that what's called fraud in the Gemara's Lashon or the Torah's Lashon, what does that refer to? The rabbi said that refers to 1/6. If you cheated him by 1/6, now what does it mean 1/6? Doesn't mean 1/6 of the value of the item. Either the mocher, the seller, got 1/6 less than its value, or the purchaser paid 1/6 more. Either case, that's called ono. Okay. Then we had another opinion. But what's the rule about ono? What happens if you were cheated? Doesn't mean you can go back on the deal. Doesn't mean you just get your money back. The difference. What's the rule? And if it's less than that, you were cheated by, let's say, not 1/6 by 1/7. 1/7 is less than 1/6. So if you get cheated by 1/7, what's the real there? Presumably, you're mochel that. When? Gemara is going to deal with that today. But before we get that, the Mishnah said, okay, 1/6. There's another opinion. Rav Tarfon said 1/3. 1/3. It's only fraud if it's 1/3. Okay, so the merchants were all happy. We said in Lud when they heard that. Rav Tarfon said, it's only fraud if you've cheated by 1/3. That means 1/3 is much more than 1/6, right? So if you cheated, let's say, a quarter, one fourth or 1/5 between that, they said that's not cheating. So they were very happy, very happy. They said, okay, good, we could charge more. Till now, the rabbi said you can't charge more than 1/6. Up to 1/6, okay. 1/6 is fraud. Any more than that, like 1/5 or 1/4, would be cheating. And Rav Tarfon said, no, 1/3 is cheating. If it's less than 1/3, that's okay. However, then he said, wait a minute. But how much time does the purchaser, let's assume, have to check out to find out if he was cheated? How do you know when he was cheated? Say he was cheated. When? How do you find out? So, okay, so the Mishnah said that how much time do you have? You have until you had time to show it to somebody, to show it to a merchant, or to show it to some expert in the family. Let's say that's an hour. You have an hour to, after the purchase, to bring it back and say, hey, I showed it to my friends. They said I got cheated. Okay. Then you investigate it, and turned out you were cheated by a 1/6. Okay. Let's say the deal's off. We don't know what the rule is yet. All we've said so far is what is cheating. But what are the rules about the cheating? Once you've determined it's cheating, well, one of the rules is you have an hour to show it to people. However, Rav Tarfon, who said, no, it's not cheating unless it's 1/3. That means he did something in the favor of the sellers, right? Because they could charge more up to 1/3. But he said, you know what? The purchaser doesn't have just an hour to show it to somebody, an expert or his family. He has all day. So that they didn't like. Once it's all day, we'd rather go back and say 1/6 and you only have an hour rather than 1/3 and you have all day. That's what we saw in the Mishnah. However, we didn't see what the rules were. Okay, cheating is 1/6 or cheating is 1/3. Okay, let's say it's less than that. What's the deal? You're mocha. Okay. How much time do you have to be mocha? Do you have also until you show it to somebody? Or is it immediate? The Gemara is going to deal with that today. Or if it's 1/6, so what's the deal? So you cheated. 1/6 is considered cheating. The Gemara is going to come out the halacha that we always quote, that less than 1/6 is mocha right away. 1/6, the deal holds, but you get back the 6, you get back the amount that you were cheated. If the cheating was by more than 1/6, the fraud was by more than 1/6, the whole deal is off. Okay, but when is it determined? Again, you have an hour to show it to somebody. Let's call that an hour. You have a certain amount of time. But the Mishnah didn't really specify all these rules. The Mishnah just said, what's cheating? Is it 1/6 or is it 1/3? And if it's 1/6 or 1/3, how much time you have to claim, that you've been cheated? You have an hour. That's it. Oh, Rav Tarfon, who said you have 1/3, said you have all day. They said, no. We'll go back to the rabbi's rule of 1/6 and just give him an hour. That's what we saw yesterday. However, the rules are not clear yet. So we had a machlokus between Rav and Shmuel. Is the 6 just the 6 of the value of the item, or is it a 6 of the money also? So, for example, if let's say you got cheated, let's say you sold them something worth 5 for 6, right? So that's really cheating by more than a 6, right? Something worth 5 for 6, you're cheating by 20%, by 1/5. So we said that's also considered ono. Why? That's a proof to Shmuel that any way that any way that it's a sixth, either a sixth of the value of a sixth of the amount of money, that's considered enough. But in that Bryce that we saw at the end of the page, he also said, who was the lokeach? The purchaser was cheated. So what can he do? He has the upper hand. He can either say, give me back my money, the whole deal's off, or give me the amount that I was cheated by. But we'll see that's also not lahalacha, because the Maisa, we said that what's the rule of Hana? If it's exactly a sixth, the deal is holds, but you get back that sixth that you were cheated. You get back the amount that you were cheated. But this Brisa goes like the Mishnah, who holds that the one who was cheated has the upper hand. And this is where we left off yesterday, the third line of Daf Yomi. Let's say it's less than a sixth. So you were cheated by a little bit. That's the halacha. We'll see, I mentioned that before, mentioned it many times. It's immediate. In other words, you walked out of the store, you were cheated by less than a sixth, that's it. You have no recourse. Is that the rule, that you have no recourse? You're a mochla right away. And even when we said you have time to show it an hour to somebody, and if you don't come back and claim that you're mochel, even if it was you cheated by a lot more. The idea is that how much time do you have, or what's the rules? It's cheating, right? Who determines that it's cheating? You have an hour to show it to somebody. Well, is that the case even if it's less than a six where you're mochel? Is it l'alter mechila? Or is it an hour? Again, the amount that the time it takes to show it to a merchant or some of your family member who knows the rules and says, what, you paid so much for that? Are you crazy? Let me see that receipt. What are you, nuts? That's what so that's the time. So when we say less than a six, your mochel, is that immediate? Or do you have an hour to show it to somebody? Imtim salomer. So you say it must be that it's immediate. Why? If you have given an hour, so what's the difference if it's cheated by less than a sixth or a sixth? Either way, you have an hour to show it to somebody. You can tell the difference. The ilu shtus yona, as we said before, that this Gemara goes throughout like the sheet of the Mishnah, not the halacha. He says, if it's a sixth, you have the one who was cheated has the upper hand. Ratza choser, he can either go back on the whole deal, or ratza kona, or he could just keep it and get the amount that he was cheated by. But if it's less than a six, maybe you have an hour to show it to somebody to make your claim, but you'll get back that difference. So you have an hour, and whatever the amount was, if it's less than a six, whatever you were cheated by, even if it's less than a six, it's a tenth, let's say, you have an hour to show it to somebody. You can't go back on the deal, but if it's a six, you can go back on the deal or get your money, or go back on the whole deal, or just get the amount that you were cheated by. Where if it's less than a six, you also have only an hour. But even when you claim that you were cheated, you can't go back on the whole deal. You could just get the amount that you're cheated back. So maybe that's the rule. So that's the Gemara's clearing here. So Tashma, let's bring a proof. We said, remember, Reb Tarfon told the merchants of Lud, you can cheat up to a third, meaning up to a third is not considered cheating. But he said, but you know what? But instead of just giving 1 hour, like the rabbi said, people have all day. The purchaser has all day. All day they're not so happy about. So therefore, they went back and they said, we'll take the rabbi's rule of 1/6 is cheating. We're not going to. They were first happy. They said, instead of up to 1/6, I can make a profit, or I can make price gouge more. Up to a six, I can go up to a third. I can cheat even get more money. But then when they heard that, according to Tarfon, you can get more money, but the guy can claim it back all day if he was cheated. Right? Savrua. Now, what do we see from that? The Gemara in the Kasha in the base managed, the rabbi said, let's say it's a pachas mishlish l'rab tarfon k'pachas mishlish l'rabbanan, meaning the rabbi said if it's less than a six, you're mochel, right? You're mochel. That's not considered or no. When Reb Tarfon said less than a third, they assume it's the same rules. Whatever the rule is for less than a sixth, the Rabbanan, meaning that it's not really Yonah, same rule applies to less than the Reb Tarfon. If we're saying that the less than a sixth, that you're mochel, how much time do you have to be mochel? You have 1 hour. Reb Tarfon, kol yom Reb Tarfon, you have all day. So Mishmachin Chazar, that's why he went back. He says, less than a sixth or less than a third, according to Tarfon, you have an hour to show it to somebody, right? Either way, you have an hour to show it to somebody. But according to Tarfon, you have all day. So if you say less than a third Rabbanan is how much time? How much time do you have to be if it's less than a 6 according to Rabbanan, we're asking, we say you're mochel. Is it mochel right away or you have an hour? If you say you have an hour, in other words, you have an hour. Within an hour, if you come back and claim you were cheated by a 10, you're entitled to get that amount that you were cheated by back. And therefore, according to Rav Tarfon, also the same rule would apply, and you have now all day, because the difference is that Rav Tarfon said you can cheat up to a third, but the guy has all day to go back on it. So now when he told them, you know what, you can cheat, let's say a quarter. That's a nice example. Between a 6 and a third is a quarter. You could cheat up to a quarter. You could take extra money from a retard. But when the guy finds out that he was cheated, he has all day to claim it back. So that's why they went back on it and said, no, I don't want to give him all day. And I'll give him 1 hour and that's it. After an hour, the deal is closed and that's it. Makes sense. So he told but if you say that less than a 6 according to Rabbanan, meaning that ono of less than a 6 is not ono, and your mochel immediately is mechila right away. Ula Rab Tarfon, where on the base of Tarfon nami la'altar mechila according to Tarfon, a third is also mechila right away. Amai chazer, why do they go back on it? But Tarfon nechel, they're better off with Tarfon's rule. Say why? To my Rabbanan k'mashavalo ono, because what the Rabbanan consider ono, which is 6, Rab Tarfon is mechila. In other words, Rabbanan say that you could cheat up to a 6th, right? Up to a 6th you could cheat. That means a quarter or a fifth, deal's off. That's no, right? A 6, anything from a 6 and more, a 6 and more, a 6th, a 5th, a 4th, anything like that is cheating. Rab Tarfon holds no, up to a third, you're mochel. If we're saying that less than a 6, you're mochel immediately, like that Rab Tarfon, when the Rabbanan say up to a 6, mechila immediately, that means we're assuming that according to Rab Tarfon also up to a third, you're mochel immediately. So why wouldn't they like that rule? That's a great rule. I could cheat up to a third, and it's immediate. It's mechila. He's mochel right away. So therefore, why would they go back on it? It must be therefore that it's not that it's immediate mechila. You only have, according to Rabbani, you have an hour to go back on it, and according to Rab Tarfon, you have all day. Oh, you have all day to go back, and you say you have all day to go back on the deal. That's what they didn't like. That makes sense. But if you say you're mochel right away by a 6, according to Rabbanan, it means according to Tarfon, up to a third you're mochel right away. Why would they have gone back on it?
Who was
the merchants of Lud, who Rab Tarfon had told them you can cheat up to a third. Pardon? Yeah. Rab Tarfon said he was more makel. The rules about a 6, the Torah says you can't cheat, but what's the cheating? So the rabbi said a 6. Rab Tarfon said, you know what? Up to a third is also valid. That was his shita. Yeah, so they told Rab Tarfon we'd rather go with the rabbi's rules of a 6. Yeah. So that's why they went back on it. So Gemara says, "Mi savas pach mishlosh Rab Tarfon." No, you're assuming this whole question was the proof was assuming that less than a third to Rab Tarfon is the same as less than a 6 Rabbanan. Mi savas pach mishlosh Rab Tarfon kapach mishlosh Rabbanan. Dummy, no. Mishlo mishtus v'ad shlish Rab Tarfon kishtus atzmul Rabbanan. This is this. The Rabbanan say that exactly a 6 is cheating, is no. We'll see later on that the halacha lemaisa is that you can't go back on the deal, but we're assuming the Gemara assumes that it's no, that the person who was cheated gets his choice. It's not that less than a 6 of the Rabbanan is similar to less than a third of Rab Tarfon, that it would be mochel, but no, don't assume that. Lo, mishtus v'ad shlish Rab Tarfon holds, yes, you could cheat up to a third, but between a 6 and a third is like no, meaning that the person who's cheated. It doesn't mean that if he's mocha. We don't say that. Mishtus, he says you could cheat up to a third, but doesn't mean that he's mocha. It means that, like the rabbis say, 1/6 the deal holds, but you get your money back. You get the amount that you're cheated back. Maybe the same thing over here. Rabbanan will say from a 6 to a third you can get your money back. The deal's not off, but the deal holds. Right? That's what I'm saying. The deal's off. So if they claim it, if it didn't, he has all day to check it. If they don't claim anything, you keep the money. You could cheat up to a third, but between a 6 and a third is like a 6, according to Rabbanan, that if the guy makes a claim, he can get his money back or he can get the difference back. So so why were they happy originally? What was the big advantage to them? The rabbi said anything a 6 is cheating. Rab Tarfon said, well, even a 6 to a third is also cheating. So what's the big deal? A 6 to a third is cheating. They can go back on it. So why were they happy? That proves that they must have been happy for some other reason. Tifsha, maybe you can be posted from this. The next question that the Gemara is going to ask in a few lines. Here's the question. When the cheating is more than a 6, and again, the Mishnah didn't define what the rules are. The Mishnah defined what onah is. It's either a 1/6 or a 1/3. And yesterday's Gemara discussed whether it's a 1/6 or a 1/3 of the value of the item or of the money itself, either one, according to Shmuel. Fine, but it didn't tell you what the rules are. Now the Gemara is assuming, okay, well, if it's more, if you cheated by more, the deal's off. Bittul mekach, the whole deal's off. Now the Gemara is going to ask in a minute, bittul mekach rabbanan, does it go? You have forever to go back on it? In other words, how much time do you have? If I was cheated by a lot, I can come back weeks later, months later, and get it back. Can I go back forever? The Gemara is going to ask that. Or is it only until 1 hour, like the time that it takes to show it to your friend or to your merchant or whatever? So l'chara, if that's the case, it must be that the rabbi, according to Rabbanan, you can go back on it forever. The kivan the Omerlu Rav Tarfon, once Rav Tarfon said Haveo no, once Rav Tarfon said to them what? That's what Anah is. Kivan Omerlu Rav Tarfon Haveo no, meaning it's not more than cheating. It's not more than Anah. Whatever Anah is, a 1/6 or a 1/3. And the Rabbanan said more than a 1/6 is cheating. The Rav Tarfon said no, a 1/6 to a 1/3 is no, it's not more than cheating, whereas bittul mekach. And as Rabbanan would say, anything more than a 1/6, the deal is off. Rav Tarfon said no, between the 1/6 and the 1/3, the deal's not off, it's just cheating, right? Some they were happy. Why? Because the rabbi said that anything more than a 1/6, you have forever to go back on it. You can always go back. Anything more than a 1/6, the purchaser can even come back weeks later and go back on it. And because that's what we're saying, bittul mekach goes back forever. And therefore, when Rav Tarfon said to him, no, it's only no. You can't go back on the deal forever. You could just, the cheater, the one who was cheated has the upper hand. Some they were happy. Ka'amar when he told them, kol yom, but they have all day to go back on it. Chazru, so it must be, in other words, from this we're saying, why were they happy originally? They were happy originally because bittul mekach Rabbanan can go back forever. They said, no, this will only go back for a day, for 1 day. If you say that bittul mekach, meaning when the cheating was more than a 6, according to Rabbanan, you only have 1 hour to show it to somebody, and after which you're mochel for my samchu, right? Why were they happy? What did they get out of it? If you say that according to Rabbanan, you have only 1 hour to show it, right? But bittul mekach. So what did he give them an advantage? He says also it's between a 1/6 and a 1/3 is also no, and just the opposite. You have all day. So what were they happy about originally? Samchu b'shtus atzma. I'll tell you why they were happy. They were happy by exactly a 6. So Rav Tarfon mechila. Rav Tarfon holds when Rav Tarfon set up to a 1/3. So we wanted to say, okay, you know what? Less than a 1/3 is not really being mochel. But between a 6 and a 1/3 is no. It's like exactly a 6 according to Rabbanan. That's no. You can get your money back. Whereas exactly a 6 according to Rav Tarfon, that would be mechila. The Rabbanan say up to a 6 is mechila. Rav Tarfon would say exactly 1/6 is mechila. So that's why they were happy originally. When he told them that, you know what, you can go up to a 1/3, he meant to say from a 6 to a 1/3, that's like a 6 according to Rabbanan. But according to Rabbanan, a 6 goes back. According to Rav Tarfon, a 6 doesn't go back in mochel there. Rabbanan no. Rabbanan say 1/6 is no. And Rav Tarfon says that's mechila, right? Samchu b'shus atzma. The Rav Tarfon, it's mechila, and according to Rabbanan, it's no. Mechila means that you mochel it. We're going to say right away. So a 6 according to Rav Tarfon. That's why they're happy originally, because Rabbanan said if you cheat by a 6, you gotta get his money back. Either the whole amount, he can go back on the deal, or exactly the amount that was cheated by. Whereas according to Rav Tarfon, no, you're mochel that amount. That's why they were happy originally. So therefore, you can't really be poshet that question. So we're not really deciding it. And Lamaisa, the rule is that mechila, this whole thing that we tried to prove, what's the rule about less than a 6? Is less than a 6 mochel immediately, or only mochel after you had a chance to show it to somebody? You have up to an hour. Meaning if you claimed within the hour that you were cheated, even by less than a 6, by a 10th, you can get your money back. You can get the 10th back. That's the question. And the Maisa, we're going to see the halacha is your mochel right away. Now here's the question that we just mentioned before. Bittul mekach Rabbanan. Rabbanan say if it's more than a 6, if you're cheated by more than a 6, the deal is off. Lo olam chozer, can you go back forever? Maybe you only have 1 hour. you have only 1 hour. If you tell me you only have 1 hour, so what's the difference between a sixth and more than a sixth? Either way, you have an hour, right? You have an hour to go back on it, whether it was a sixth or more. What's the Ika? Here's the difference. If it's exactly a sixth, the one who was cheated goes back. He can go back on the deal. They can both go back on the deal. If they were, in other words, they both have an option to go back on the deal. Maybe that would be the difference. So maybe you have an hour, or do you have forever? Tashma, I'm going to try to bring a proof to that question. Again, with the people of Lud, after Rav Tarfon had given them a leniency and said you could take up to a third, is not considered no. After he told them they have all day, the purchaser has all day to go back on it. They said no, we'll take the rabbi's sheet that you only have 1 hour and go with the rabbi's rules of a sixth. If you tell me the bit mechla is only for 1 hour, and the Tarfon says no, they have all day. That's why they went back on the deal, because they said, look, we don't want a third because that gives the purchaser all day to check it. Usually, if they don't find it within an hour, I'd rather take with him. He has 1 hour to return it, 1 hour to go back on it. I would prefer that. Give him all day, not so good. We're going to lose business. So if you tell me that bittul mekach rabbanan is enough for 1 hour, and Rav Tarfon gives them all day, so that's why they went back and they chose the rabbanan shita. In other words, they would say, I'd rather say the deal is only totally off when you cheated by more than a third, by more than a sixth. That's only if what? If you only had 1 hour, then it makes sense. But if you say, according to the rabbanan, the bittul mekach, meaning if it was cheated by more than a sixth, you have forever to go back on the deal. Why would they choose that? Amai chazru. Why would they go back and take the rabbi shita? Because then, if they cheated by more than a sixth, right, which means that the deal is off, right, but they have forever to go back on the deal. Would you give somebody a guarantee and say you could always come back on the deal, even months later, years later? Amai chazru. Why would they go back? But Rav Tarfon necha, they would prefer Rav Tarfon's shita tfei. Why? To come a shavi leo no kalayom. Because he says you have 1 day. Oh no, it's only that 1 day. Basulo. The answer is bittul mekach lo shchiach. The answer is to cheat by that much, more than more than a sixth, or more than a third. But going back to the rabbis of more than a sixth is that usually doesn't happen. To cheat by that much doesn't. Rashi says ein shvach zechoshev le'memidi lo shchich. It's not a big advantage to them. Meaning it could very well be that the rabbis would hold you can go back on it forever. But that's very unlikely to happen anyway. Most people go back on it that day. So to say that, look, go back to the sheet of the rabbis give you forever to go back on it, that's very unlikely. And most people go back within the day anyway, like the sheet of Tarfon. So it's not a big advantage to give you forever to go back versus all day, because people go back on it. They usually go back on it that day. Therefore, they'd rather take the pagam of shtus atzma and say that the shtus atzma is the question is amai chazru. My chazru. Why would they go back on it? Wouldn't it be bad? The answer is they go back on it because of the rule. They rather have not on the sixth itself that the rabbi said we're going now. Rashi explains that he's going back from what he said before about the difference would only be by exactly a sixth. According to Rabbanan, it's mechila. According to Rav Tarfon, it's onah. Now we're saying no. It's even from a sixth to a third could very well be that he says that's either that's mechila according to them, or that they were dealing with the sixth itself. But the sixth itself, according to Rabbanan, goes back by itself, and Rav Tarfon says no, sixth itself is mechila. So they would rather have that advantage, right? They would have that advantage, but the problem is that the guy can go back on it all day, and all day wasn't good for them. They said, I'd rather take 1 hour and go with the shita of the rabbis. So therefore, that's why they went back on it.
I don't understand why it was better for them to have it in 1 hour rather than to have the third. It sounds to me like I don't understand it.
Right, because they felt that going back on it for all day gives the guy too much of the advantage. They'd rather have a more limiting amount of money, because that's, in other words, if because it's very easy. Their real advantage was only on a sixth. Let's assume on a sixth. So the Rabbanan say it's mechila, and they say that's no. So like Rashi explains, it's very easy for them to avoid the sixth. Charge a drop less, charge a penny less, so you won't get to the six. We'll see examples in tomorrow's daf about cases where people realize what the price is and trying to avoid the no. So it's easy to get around that. But to give them advantage of all day, you have all day to go back on the deal, that they didn't like. That was the merchants felt that you don't want to give a guy that much time to go back on it. Like today, we have certain cases, all deals are fine, all sales are final, or you don't want to give people forever to go back on the deal.
30 days.
30 days, whatever it is. Okay, that doesn't help sales. I don't believe it helps sales. I believe it helps sales to, I think, the scientifically marketing has proven that the more advantage you give them, the better off you are. I was the first one to offer in this country money back guaranteed. Now it's almost a law in many cases, but I was the first one back in 89, 90 to offer money back guarantee. Not you can return it, we'll give you something else. We'll give you a replacement, which we don't have in stock anyway, right? That's what they would always say. They wouldn't have the replacement stock. Money back guarantee, no questions asked. And in many cases, I didn't even ask for the merchandise back. The price was very low, just said, keep it and I'll give you your money back. And that increased sales. That's what it does. Because you'd rather you're more inclined to buy from some place where like today, Amazon, you buy from some place where you could just return it with no problems, no questions asked, etc. So anyway, so they didn't want to give them that much time. That was their view. They didn't want to give them much time, and therefore they went back on it. Because it's very easy. If the whole issue is just exactly by 1/6, meaning from a sixth to a third, we said before, it is not necessarily the same as less than a sixth according to Rabbanan. From a sixth to a third is no. But exactly a sixth is mechila. So I'll avoid a sixth. I'll charge a little bit less, so it won't be a sixth. But the advantage of a sixth to a third seemed to be attractive to them. So they said, yeah, but that's no. In other words, he can get that money back if he claims it. Okay, I'll give him 1 hour, give him all day, rather not do that. That was the machlokas here. But the Gemara has assumed till now, as we're going to see the discussion later on also, that what we didn't really define the rules. We tried to define a little bit by saying, okay, mechila, where it's less than a sixth, where you're mochel, is that right away or not? We tried to prove that it's not right away, right? If they sure, then we said, no, you can't prove that from there. Then we tried to say, okay, what's the rule about bittul mekach when it's more than no, when it's more than a sixth? You cheated by more. You cheated by let's say half. That's where you clearly cheated. How much time do you have to go back in the deal to show it? Do you have forever, or do you have only a certain amount of time? So we tried to assume that it must be whereas forever. That's why Talmud went back on the deal. Because if it was forever, why wouldn't it makes sense. If you say it's forever, that's why they went back on it, because we don't want the Gemara said, if it's forever, that's why were they choser? If you say it's only for 1 hour, and Bishlam Bittul Mekhlorban is only for, so I understand why they went back, and that's a bit. If it's forever, why would the answer is no, it's possible it could have been forever, but it's very unlikely, so therefore it's very unlikely to be cheated by that much, so there wasn't an advantage to them. However, even though we said it's possible that they could have been, that the Bittul Mekhlorban could be forever, and it's also possible that the mechila of less than a sixth is not right away, but that's not the halacha. Here the Gemara says, where we're up to right now, the Gemara says, Amar Rava, Hilchasa, the halacha is, and we haven't seen this yet, this wasn't even mentioned in the Mishnah, Pachas Mishtus, if it's less than a sixth, Nikkamechach. That's it. Deals off. It's immediately. Rashi says, La'alter, Nikkamechach, Hilchasa, Pachas Mishtus, Nikkamechach, La'alter, and you're mochel right away. You walk out of a store, you bought something, you made a deal, you picked it up, you were cheated by a tenth. The price was worth $1 and you paid $1.10. Too bad. You're mochel right away. That's the deal. Not like we wanted to say before. We said, do you have an hour to show it to somebody? No. Alter right away. Like the Gemara said, when the Gemara asked the Kash when we started today, yeah, that's the halacha. It's alter right away. Okay, that's if it's less than a sixth. All right, Nikim. If you cheated by more than a sixth, bittul mekach. The deal is off. The deal is off. You have 1 hour to show it, and the deal is off. Shtus, I mean, if the hour is passed and you haven't made a claim, then you're mochel. Shtus, if it's exactly a sixth, you can't go back on the deal, but he gives you back the amount that you were cheated by. That's the halacha. Both these cases, the last two cases of more than a sixth, or exactly a sixth, you have 1 hour. So here's the halacha. If you were cheated by a lot, by a sixth, or more than a sixth, you were cheated by half, you have 1 hour to show it to somebody. That's it. After 1 hour, that's it. You're mochel. You can't do anything about it. But the rule about the deal is off. You don't have a choice. We said before, the one who was cheated, we're going to talk about that, the other sheet, the one who was cheated has a choice. Either give me my money back, the whole deal is off, or give me the amount I was cheated by. No, we're not saying that now. Rava's paskening, like we're going to see, like with Nasan. Tiny Kabbalah said Rava. Oh no, pachas mishtus nik nemekach. The deal is solid. Less than a sixth, you're mochel immediately. Yes, Rishus. If you were cheated by more than a sixth, but the deal's off. Shus, if it's exactly 1/6, kana umachzor no. You can't go back on the deal, but he'll give you back the amount that you were cheated by. Divrei Rav Nosson, that's the halacha. Rashi brings down that Rav Nosson was a dayan, and we accepted his rules. The kind of Rav Nosson dayana. We went into depth and we follow his halacha. So Rava paskin like Rav Nosson, not like our Mishnah. Rav Yehuda Nasi, that's our Mishnah. Omer yad mocher al yad. Whoever was cheated has the upper hand. Meaning, Ratza Omer lo he can go back on the deal. Or give me the amount you were cheated by. Meaning, and the same thing would be if the purchaser was cheated. He could either go back on the whole deal or ask for the amount he was cheated by. But that's not what Rava said. It's not what Rav Nosson said. Rava paskin like Rav Nosson, that we paskin like, that if you were cheated by exactly a sixth, you can't go back on the deal. You can get your money, you can get the difference back. The amount you were cheated by, you get that back. The deal is only off if you were cheated by more than a sixth. Let me just that's what Rav Yehuda also. Rav Yehuda said that the other one, you have the upper hand, meaning the one who was cheated has the other hand, whether it's on no, whether it's exactly a sixth or more than a sixth, but you have 1 hour, and everybody agrees that you only have 1 hour to show it. Yeah.
Exactly a sixth. What are you giving back?
If you cheat,
whole sixth?
The whole sixth, meaning, let's say the item was worth $6 and you paid $7 for it. Okay, you were cheated by 1/6. 1/6 of $6 is $1. You paid $1 more. So the halacha is you have 1 hour to show it to somebody to show your case. You have 1 hour to make your claim that you were cheated. And when you come back and you check that, you say it's only worth $6. You charge me $7. I get my dollar back. I can't go back on the deal. That's the halacha that Rava paskin like Rav Nosson. Whereas Rav Yehuda Nasi said, no, the one who was cheated has the upper hand. He can say, either give me my dollar back or the whole deal's off. But that's not the halacha. That's what the Mishnah said. That's what the Bryce said, but that's not the halacha. Okay. So we said, how much time do you have? You have 1 hour. Amar Rav Nachman, the purchaser has 1 hour. You can go back further. Why? Because the mocher doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't have this item. See, the lokeach bought the item, the purchaser has the item, so he said, hey, friend, look what I bought. You bought that? What'd you pay? Are you crazy? Shows it to people. He's going to have it. But the mocher who sold it, he doesn't have it anymore. We're not talking about a case where the guy's got 1 million of the same product and he knows what it's going for. He sold his item. He doesn't have it. Name of Messiah, let's bring a proof. Again, proof from the mocher, from the merchants in Lud. They went back to the if the mocher can always go back on the deal, that's why they went back, because they were sellers. So they didn't get anything by what do they get by saying that you gave them an extra hour? Since they are the sellers, even the Rabbanan say that the Lokech has 1 hour to show it, but they were the sellers and they had forever to go back on it. So that Reb Tarfon's advantage wasn't much of an advantage for that, because they always had more time to go back anyway. But if you say the mocher like the kech, he only has 1 hour, my nafkamina, what would be? Why did they go back on the deal? My nafkamina, just like Rabbanan gave a takan for kech that he has 1 hour to show it to somebody else. He also has 1 hour. The answer is, so why would they have gone back on and gone back like the Rabbanan? If the mocher has the same amount as lokech, so what's the advantage? In other words, just the opposite. They have all day. The Rabbanan said you have 1 hour both for lokech and for. If you say the Rabbanan say you have 1 hour for lokech and for the mocher also has 1 hour. So everything go back. Reb Tarfon gave them all day to go back on it. The answer is Tagilud lo shchich the toe. the merchants usually didn't make a mistake. It wasn't the big advantage for them to say, listen, we have 1 hour instead of 1 hour that the rabbi said. Rav Tarfon gave us all day to go back on it, right? But if you say that according to the kasha was like this, if you say according to Rabbanan, the mocher can always go back on it. So we understand why they went back like the Rabbanan, because the Rabbanan gave them all forever to go back on the deal. That's a big deal. The Lokech only has 1 hour, but we're the mochrim. We can go back forever. So we understand why they went like the Rabbanan, because the Rabbanan gave them forever. Eliyam at mocher and Lokech, he only has 1 hour. So what's the difference? It's the same thing, mocher and Lokech. Then there's only 1 hour for them. So why wouldn't they be an advantage to stay with Rav Tarfon, who gave all day to go back on the deal? The answer is all day for them is not a big advantage, because they usually don't make a mistake. So in other words, they would rather say, we'll go to Rabbanan, you have only 1 hour for the purchaser to go back on the deal, right? We'll have 1 hour to go back to the purchaser. Even if you say that we also only have 1 hour, we don't care about ourselves, because we're not going to make a mistake. It's more likely that the purchaser will make a mistake, and we'd rather give him only 1 hour instead of all day, and that's why they went back on the deal. All right, we'll see some cases outlining these halachas tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.